Today, the government came up with a big decision, and this is a big boost to the vaccination drive, with the central government now saying that everybody above the age of 45 will be eligible for vaccination. So essentially that means nobody above the age of 45 now requires to even show a comorbidity certificate, because it's applicable to all. Now viewers, this is extremely big because Chorus has been demanding that we open up vaccination for more people. Here on Mirror Now, we've been telling you, we've been demanding that. We've got experts to speak about the fact that there seem to be enough doses to widen the scope of vaccination at least, even if you don't open it up for everybody. And one of the most important reasons on why we've been insisting on doing that is because of the big rise in cases. India recorded over 40,000 new cases, close to 200 deaths just in the last 24 hours. 40,000 cases. On top of this list is Maharashtra with 24,645 cases. We're going to talk about the Maharashtra challenge tonight. And then Punjab with 2,299 cases. We're going to talk about Punjab because the challenge there is very different and concerning with the details that are emerging. Then comes Gujarat with 1,640 cases, Chhattisgarh with 1,525 cases, and Karnataka now with 1,445 cases. This is just, remember, in the last 24 hours, which is why it is extremely important for us to speed up our vaccination process. Let's go across to Ayushman, who's joining me with more details. Ayushman, we know that there was quite a bit of conversation that was going on in terms of allowing more people, bringing in a wider eligibility criteria. Now, what's the sense within the government? How many more people are likely to benefit with this? And are we ready with those doses and that kind of infrastructure?
Well, Tanvi, like you pointed out, it's a very, very significant decision that has been taken, and the government is clear of the point that they have got no shortage of supply. So the supply is there on their side, and currently the government is aiming that the earlier estimate was only of 30 crore, but this number was up to 50 years of age. Now the age bracket has been reduced to 45 years age. So additional numbers have been included in that. Now, why it is important, Tanvi? First of all, India yesterday changed the dosing regimen of Covishield. If you see the number of two vaccines, Covaxin and Covishield, over 4 crore doses of Covishield has been given, and 4 lakh, above 42 lakh doses have been given from Covaxin, which is the indigenous vaccine. So when the dosing regimen change, you have a gap of about 55 days from one dose to other. You have a lot amount of time for people to be vaccinated. So this time can be utilized to vaccinate all those without comorbidity, with comorbidity above 45 years of age. So the expansion that we were calling upon, it was expected from the states that the states will improve the number, and now that net has been expanded. The states have been told, the health secretary has written to the states, they can do the vaccination 24/7, 7 days a week. It's upon them. And now the center clearly says they haven't yet given the details, Tanvi. Overall, they are saying that 7.4 crore vaccine has been supplied to states. The detailed breakup and the rest of the vaccine, how much of the utilization has taken place, that is not known yet. But they are saying that there is no problem of supply. The country has supply with it. And the ambition is that by end of July, till mid of August, they are planning that they can vaccinate the entire population which is there above 45 years of age.
All right, so that is definitely some great news coming in, in our battle against coronavirus, and for those who are now eligible above the age of 45. Now, Ayushman, but along with the good news, let's also talk about why it's important and the big challenges that we are facing right now. And one of that challenge actually comes from the state of Punjab, Ayushman. And today, the government of Punjab came out with details to say, well, we tested about 400 samples and got the genome sequencing done. And over 80%, 81% of those tested for UK variants. Now, put this in perspective for our viewers. What does this mean, and why can it be a big concern?
It is a very big concern, Tanvi. If you see right now, we already know that the transmission rate of UK variant is high. Now, if you see the state of Maharashtra, in last 24 hours, it has reported over 23,000 cases. But what is the death number? It is 58. In Punjab, the case reporting ratio is only 2,300 cases. But what is the death ratio? 58. It is at par with Maharashtra. In Punjab is having the highest mortality rate in the country. If India is having one person dying every 100 cases, Punjab is seeing 3 people dying per 100 cases. At the same time, the transmission rate is the concern. If you see the number which has been given by the Chief Minister's office, it clearly states that out of the above 400 samples which were sent, over 320 of them have tested for positive for UK variant. Now, this we confirmed from the Union Health Ministry as well. The overall number of the COVID variant in India, positive cases have gone up to 795, and this includes the UK variant, Brazilian variant, and South African variant. Now, what is happening, Tanvi? This was early. The INSACOG was made to see what is the prevailing strain that is there in the population. Now, it is sure that in Punjab, you have a larger amount of UK strain, and that actually requires a larger amount of contact tracing. If you remember the very case when India detected the first case, around 100 to 300 people were contact traced and they were put in isolation. Now, it will be a huge task for Punjab government to contact trace all those people who are getting positive with the COVID variant of UK variant, because that variant has got a higher transmission rate. The fatality is, of course, yet to be determined, but higher transmission rate is there. That means in the coming days, you are going to see, if the contact tracing is not taking properly, you are going to see an expansion in numbers. Numbers will increase, and mind you, Tanvi, it is not just limited to Punjab, because a lot of movement is taking place from Punjab, and it is going to be again impacting the national capital, Haryana, and other parts of the northern India as well. So it's a big concern, Tanvi.
Okay, thanks so much, Ayushman, for bringing us the details and really putting in perspective the situation in Punjab. Now, while the state government, their viewers, has used this data to ask the central government to open up vaccination for more people, to widen the scope, they will have to do a lot more. They will have to step up on surveillance, they will have to step up on testing, they will have to step up on implementation of the norms that they keep announcing. Just announcing a night curfew is not going to be very helpful right now. And while the vaccination drive goes on, which Punjab will need to now do aggressively, they may have to look at a different policy as well. Now, it's not just a Punjab concern. If it can happen there, it's probably in other parts of our country as well. In Maharashtra, we're given to understand, similar tests and genome sequencing results are awaited. So we're going to talk about all of this. And let me now say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now. Let's say good evening to Dr. Shashank Joshi, Dean, Indian College of Physicians, Lilavati Hospital. He's member of the Maharashtra COVID Task Force. Let's also say good evening to Dr. Sunila Garg, Professor of Excellence for Community Medicine at Maulana Azad Medical College, member of the Lancet Commission and COVID India Task Force. Dr. N.K. Arora, Executive Director for INCLIN. He's the Chairman for the COVID-19 Working Group and the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. Brinda Dhillon, President for the Punjab Youth Congress, joins us, and Dr. Sameer Dalwai, spokesperson for NCP and a developmental pediatrician himself with us. Now, let me actually first up go across to Dr. Arora on the big news. And that big news, of course, today, Dr. Arora, is the fact that everybody now above the age of 45 can get the vaccine from 1st April. Now, what's the, thought process of the expert committee on this? How much will we be able to ramp up in terms of the vaccination speed? How many people now stand to take benefit?
Thank you, Tanvi, for inviting. You have asked 3 questions. The first question is, when we expand the age to 45, and that would make almost 30% of the Indian population. It will be somewhere between 35 to 40 crore individuals. And so that's a sizable number. And this includes the priority groups which have already been announced. So that's a very welcome step. But I think there is a very big science behind this 45 years and above, because when there was a paper published in September last year in Science, and some modeling exercises which have been done within India, which shows the mortality starts rising steeply after the age of 45, but actual rise is after 50 years. But the mortality starts rising because comorbidities also start occurring simultaneously. So that is the rationale behind this. The second question is how to ramp up and to see that we are able to immunize these people in next 3 to 4 months. And as we are seeing gradually now, and we are in a state that we should be and we can ramp up the immunization centers in all parts of the country, including rural areas and remote areas. And we should be having around 60 to 70,000 immunization centers across the country. So every day, at least 5 or 6 million people, if they are immunized, I think we should be able to achieve the target which we want. And this is in the context that vaccines are available. Still, it is a bit, I would say, sad that not everybody is coming forward to utilize the facility and the vaccine as it should be. And this is particularly important that our vaccine, both the vaccines are effective against the British variant. I was just sitting in the SAGE meeting and the data was presented, and both Indian vaccines, Covaxin as well as Covishield, are effective against the UK variant. And therefore, people should come forward and take it as fast as they can so that morbidity and mortality is reduced. Okay. Infectiousness means more infection, but proportionately mortality and severity will also increase. Therefore, it is important that all those who are above 45 must come rapidly and get themselves immunized.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And what you said is very, very important, Dr. Arora, that there still seems to be some amount of hesitancy. We want more and more people to come out. A lot of these vaccination centers, we've actually seen doses are available, infrastructure is ready. People don't even have to wait. And they definitely have the space to ramp it up and vaccinate more people if only those people start coming in. Dr. Sunila Garg, that brings me to my next question before we go to the problem of what's happening in Punjab and the UK variant. But as far as our vaccination policy is concerned, do we also need to start considering some amount of stepped up targeted vaccination in worst hit areas, whether it's in Punjab or Maharashtra, specific districts or specific other population as well?
Yeah, definitely. This is a very important question. And we definitely need to step up our strategies, particularly with regard to now, in urban areas we have started, but we have to focus upon the rural areas as well, where, our healthcare workers and plus our Panchayati Raj institutions are going to play a very, very critical role. And this has got to be ramped up across all the regions, basically, so that we have to particularly focus on the age group, as Dr. Arora mentioned, that plus 45 years and above. And we have no dearth of manpower. We have all machineries, particularly in rural areas, urban areas. We do have machinery, healthcare machinery, which can also take a follow-up of the situation as to how many people can be mobilized. And vaccine hesitancy can also simultaneously can be addressed simultaneously, because we have got a very good communication strategy plan, which focuses on the capacity building of the healthcare worker. So you see, this is one of the most critical issues that people have to come forward. And we have got a focused strategy also, with regard to different states. And particularly, with regard to, the opening of the vaccine centers. Now the government has said that, in, different states, they can be open till 9 o'clock. And also, some of the centers, the government has also given, the orders that they can keep open till 24 hours also, 24/7, which are already being done. Some of them are already being opened in government sector as well as in private sector. Thank you. Over
opening our vaccination centers for longer hours to, make it easier for more and more people. Very quickly, Dr. Shashank Joshi, to you as well on this big development that's come today. But, what I want to understand is, beyond saying everybody above the age of 45, do we open it up to more people, the younger working population, those who are out there on a daily basis exposing themselves, at least in the worst hit areas?
Tanvi, thank you for having me. I think first priority is to save lives. And I think Government of India has been very mindful in their vaccination calibrated strategy. First, they went above 60, and then between 45 and 60 with comorbidities. Now they've opened up to everybody above 45 because the priority is to have the zero fatality rate or zero case fatality rate. So I think that is the first step. I think they have negotiated a first step well, and therefore they have gone to the next step, that is everybody above 45. Ideally, below 45 with comorbidities also should come, but probably that would be their next step. That will depend upon three things. Number one, the availability of the vaccine. Number two, the vaccination program. And obviously the most vulnerable hit states. Remember, impact of vaccination will be seen after 1.5 to 2 months overall. So remember that right now, the current pandemic and the second surge which is happening in some of the states, including Maharashtra, we need stringent public health policing measures on a very, very ramped up basis. That has not to be connected with vaccination. Vaccination is very important to save lives. Vaccination should be done in the most vulnerable first. And they have made a very clear-cut evidence-based prioritization. And I would agree with them. But if you expand it more and if there is availability and access, obviously it is always welcome. It has to be equitably done, and Government of India has been mindful about its equitable distribution as well. So I think that is something, and they have also now engaged private sector. I'm certain that when another 2 or 3 vaccine manufacturers will also have their vaccines in the market, probably this will open up further, and there will be more than another, probably a couple of thousand more vaccination centers, 2 shifts of vaccination, maybe 24/7 vaccination. Things will go up further. So I am certain that every 15 days you will see such announcements, and I welcome the current announcement.
Okay. Let's talk about the next big aspect. And I think here, especially for states like Punjab, Maharashtra, maybe in other places as well, we need to perhaps do deeper analysis and figure out what our policy should be. And I say this because we've just, today been told, and this has been confirmed by the central government, where the Punjab government came out and told us that they've done this sampling of about 400 samples, of which 80% were the UK variant. Now, for me, that's a little concerning. So far in our country, we thought we had just about detected 400 to 500 of these cases. Now, we are saying that there's probably going to be a lot more. So, Mr. Brinder Dhillon, let's start with you. Now, what is the government's plan of action and the party's plan of action to deal with this? Vaccination is one part. It will take a lot of time to vaccinate a significant size of the population. How do we test, surveillance, and contain this? Mr. Dhillon, I think you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Tanvi. So you're very right in saying, vaccination is one part and how we contain it is another part. So as far as the vaccination is concerned, people in Punjab are trying, there's a farm law issue out here. And I would like to bring it straight to that fact. Here the corona has somehow taken a little backseat and the farmer issue is on a steep rise. People are protesting outside, people are moving outside. And, it's very difficult at this point of time to contain everybody. Because if you look at the Singhu-Tikri borders, everywhere people are concerned more about the laws, more about their livelihood, rather than about corona. So we have implemented a curfew in almost 9 districts at night. I know you will say it's not enough, but the schools have been closed. The weddings have been absolutely limited to 20 people. But as far as, the corona is concerned, government is taking every possible step to contain it. But similarly, we have to realize the livelihood of the people. Since now also the harvesting season is coming, and the farmers will be going to mandis. So we are taking the precautionary measures because livelihood is also at stake. So whatever the measures have been taken or are being taken are somehow directly related to the present farm bill situation. We have been trying our level best to limit rallies also, but recently, I don't want to bring politics into it, but Aam Aadmi's organized a huge rally in Bagha Purana in name of Kinsan Mahapanchayats, in spite of repeated warnings and in spite of the high rise in this. The Akali Dal opposition leader Sukhbir Bahadur has also tested corona positive after organizing a huge rally in Khemkaran. So yes, we are facing difficulties as far as the the implementation of our guidelines is concerned. But similarly, at the same point of time, we are very much, cautious also. We have also taken a lot of measures, like private hospitals have been given strict guidelines, that you have to step up vaccination. You have to step up all these steps so that, at least at the power of government level, the private hospitals were not at the same pace at what government hospitals were administrating. So yes, there are problems, there are difficulties, especially related to the farm laws, and Punjab being the most affected state, it somehow gets difficult to control it at that
But
point of time.
Brinder Dhillon, to what extent are you able to put in these norms on ground, implement these norms on ground? It's okay to say night curfew, but corona exists even in the daytime. And when there are weddings and large-scale weddings, and I don't need to tell you about high-profile weddings and political family weddings that have taken place in Punjab, what are we doing to take action against those who may be not following your rule?
See, you have to realize one thing. I want to bring it to your notice. This connecting it to the high-profile weddings, all this will not solve anything.
Yeah, but neither does pointing out the fact that your opposition is holding rallies. You started the politicization of it.
I am saying, some things are avoidable. Certain politics is avoidable. Like, holding rallies at this point of time, when the state government has issued a lot of advisories, and especially when the surge was there. So if we want to take it to politicizing it, yes, Akali Dal, Aam Aadmi have done their bit in spreading all this. But at the same point of time, the government, I will just give you an example to be fair enough. Hola Mahalla. So there's a huge religious gathering in Anandpur Sahib, from which last time there was a huge uprise out of there because the first corona patient came from there. So I would like to point out this thing. We have had a lot of restrictions. We are implementing a lot of restrictions, but let's not forget the livelihood of the people.
No, okay, you're fair enough. I'm not even advocating that we shut it down completely. In fact, for any government, you need to implement the restrictions properly so that we don't stare at a situation where a lockdown has to be implemented and livelihoods are then affected. That's why we need to take measures right now, higher testing, higher surveillance and faster vaccination. Do stay on with me. Mr. Arora, if you can explain to us and to our viewers, what is it that, how do we interpret this 81% of the 400 samples being of the UK variant?
A point on follow-up of Mr. Dhillon's responses. One of the important thing, I think it's very critical, that the community at large and most people have felt that corona is no more, it's so mild, it doesn't make a difference. And therefore that corona appropriate behavior has disappeared, whether it is a large congregation of any type. So I think one of the first step all governments should take, central as well as the state governments, that make the country and make the people aware again that corona is there, it is going to rise, and if we don't do anything within next 4-6 weeks, we may break the record of September 2020. The second thing is masking is such an important component, whatever is being done, and that, so besides testing, tracking, and surveillance, this mask issue and keeping social distance is very, very critical. Now, coming to your the question you are talking about variants, COVID variants of concern, these are called. And this is clearly very important, and it's an extremely important news, as well as it has epidemiological connotations as well. If in a particular district we are finding such a large number and rapid outbreak is occurring, special measures are required, particularly instituting the COVID behavior, and absolute ban on any kind of social congregation is required in that. The second point is that at least those who are susceptible must all get immunized, because what we are finding that all those who are above 45 and those who have comorbidities are not being immunized completely. So at least that is the first step. So it is easier said than done, that we expand the immunization centers. They are open 24 hours. But अभी जितनी capacity है वही capacity पूरी use नहीं हो रही है. Then to talk about expanding further, it really doesn't make too much sense. So we must really utilize immunization. And I would like to highlight one very important point, that if we want to really contain corona, it has four limbs. Four. This is vaccination is only one component. Second is masking. Third is social distance. And third is hygiene. If any one of them is missing, we will not be able to contain corona. So we should not link immunization in isolation.
Oh, yes.
I'll stop at that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Sabir Dalwai, that's the whole part, right? That we can't let our guard down even on one aspect. Now, Punjab has got its results of the genome sequencing. Maharashtra also will have to look at this, aspect. We have looked at some newer variants, not necessarily this one, but our numbers certainly do suggest that something needs to be studied and a reason found.
So good evening, Tanvi, and good evening to my teacher, Dr. Arora sir, and my friend, Dr. Sashank, and the rest of the panel. So Tanvi, the point is like this. It's a virus and it's a contagious virus. So is it surprising that everybody will get infected? Not at all. Everybody is going to get it at some point of the time. Two, again, it's a virus and it's spreading so rapidly. We are using drugs against it. Is it surprising that there will be variants and mutants? Not at all. It's expected to have mutants and strains. So what's the good news? The good news is at least the Covishield as well as the other vaccine seems to be working against the variants as well. Now, what we need to understand is absolutely what Dr. Arora sir said about all these three other issues about masking and social distancing and cutting down on the crowds and so on and so forth. But this is India and life will go on as usual. I think it's been tremendous the amount of support the people have given in terms of their change of behavior in the last 1 year. I think it was unimaginable. What the issue is now we have to focus on is the vaccination part. In vaccination, where we are stuck is the numbers getting vaccinated. So what we clearly need is a game changer. We need a game changer and we need to target not only certain people who will get vaccinated, we will need to target who are going to vaccinate. And I think the game changer will be if we open up the vaccination to be given by pediatricians. And on behalf of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, we've already made a demand to, I would say a proposal rather, very humbly, to the Honorable Health Minister Shri Harshvardhan ji to allow pediatricians across the country to vaccinate adults for COVID. The reasons are very simple. Everybody knows and understands pediatricians vaccinate children. There is a huge acceptability on behalf of the population towards the pediatrician who vaccinates. In one fell swoop, you are going to do away with the little bit of worry or the anxiety or the enigma or the stigma around the vaccination part for COVID. Because pediatricians are known to be doing this. Every pediatrician, even if he has 300-400 patients, he has the parents and the grandparents and the relatives. What we have proposed even at Maharashtra, but we are told that eventually the decision has to come from Delhi, allow 1,000 doses to each practicing pediatrician. They already have a cold chain, so you don't have to invest any more money. You don't have to prepare anything. It can happen overnight. They already have a cold chain in their clinics because they're vaccinating children. So if you have 1,000 doses given to the pediatrician, Maharashtra alone has 4,000 members of the Indian Academy of Pediatrics. All over IAP, and Dr. Arora will stand by me on that, has 33,000 pediatricians. You have 3 crore people covered in no time. Plus, these are my patients' parents, my patients' grandparents. They trust me as a pediatrician. So I think we need a game changer here. The second point is, of course, there needs to be certain groups which should be prioritized for vaccination, no doubt about it. But remember one thing, every time you vaccinate somebody, you are stopping the chain of transmission. So, of course, if there is a limited vaccination available, vaccinate the higher age groups and the comorbid groups. But if there is no deficiency of vaccines, please vaccinate whoever you can. Even if he's a 20-year-old guy, he is going to be a break in the transmission in the community. So I think we need a game changer here.
Okay, a game changer in terms of stepping up. Yes, I think that's something that the government will have to centrally, of course, look at gradually.
Yes.
Dr. Garg, would you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, basically, you see, it is important that first we look at our target. What is important is 45 years and above, which Dr. Arora also mentioned that we are going to target 35 crore individuals at least. So from a public health perspective, I think like that. And the second part, which is also important, is that we do have genomic consortium, which is there and which is having 5 regional centers across, which is linked to different states. So we need to have regular feedback about the genomic sequencing. So right now, you see, today we got this, and I'm sure we are waiting for the report, which has to come very fast, so that we are aware of where in terms of epidemiological perspective how the virus is behaving, so that right now, as it was pointed out earlier by Dr. Arora, Dr. Shashank, and Dr. Darby also, that primarily that right now these vaccines are effective against the mutant strains also, but a time will come when it will no longer be effective. Something if we look at, because Pfizer has already started looking at the variant strains with regard to the vaccine efficacy as well. So that is another important part. So, but another thing which is important is also the vaccine waste, which we need to take into consideration. So 4 important points from my side. One is the COVID appropriate behavior. Second is avoidance of overcrowding and the precautions. The third important thing is you must accelerate the speed of immunization. And the fourth important part is we need to focus on genome sequencing as well, so that we know where we are in state of our country. Because you see, we cannot be ignorant to that fact that suddenly the news comes from UK that we have earlier we started with that, and then we started looking at all the passengers who were coming from UK, and religiously we must screen at least 5% of our population from the community settings who are coming out to be positive by RT-PCR, so that their samples can be sent for genome sequencing.
Okay.
But then it has to be on the public platform very soon. That is important.
Okay, so Dr. Joshi, can you explain to us this genome sequencing, method that is used, and what is it that we find from here? Because, like I said earlier, also we were told that so far we had about 400 cases of UK variants. Now we are being told 81% of 400 cases in just Punjab are of this variant.
That's very true. I think genome sequencing, we have some excellent labs across India. NIV and ICMR have their own labs, but I think CSIR have their own labs. We have Dr. Anurag Agarwal, who is there in the Center for Genomic Consortium. We have the NCCS, and we have very excellent genomic scientists in India who can provide us clues. We also know that even in the microbiology department of BJ Medical College, almost a month back, when the Amravati had a TPR positivity of 53%, we thought it was a freak case, but they were able to identify a E384 mutant there. And probably there are dual or triple mutants there. But ICMR is sitting on the data for almost a month now, and they need to do better data transparency. I think the CSIR labs are much more proactive, and they have been able to provide it. And there is the whole consortium of that. We have some of the best genome scientists. So I think this correlation is possible. But I think the public health strategy and treatment strategy won't change. Vaccination program won't change. Even if there is, that's what Dr. Arora very clearly mentioned, that the strategy for vaccination cannot have any hesitancy because there is a strain A or a strain B. What is different is number one, it's a faster transmitting strain, but probably it is a little less virulent. That's why we are seeing a lower death rate. That's the first assuring thing. In Maharashtra, I'm reasonably certain that there is a different mutant. Whether it's a homegrown mutant or outside mutant is for genomic scientists to decide. And I'm certain that in times to come, in the next couple of days, we'll have more answers from them. And they're willing to cooperate. In fact, Dr. Shekhar Mande was on a conversation with us, and they are also trying to look at Maharashtra very critically, and we'll have some data from that. They've looked at Kerala also more critically, and now Punjab has come out with their own data. So genomic sequencing is important, but there's nothing for people to panic. I think we still need to go out, get ourselves vaccinated. We still need to mask. We still need to distance, and if required, double mask. We need to be responsible. People still cannot be so reckless. I mean, you can't be. And the other thing is, once you have COVID, because 80% is asymptomatic, the biggest nightmare in Maharashtra today, and Samir was saying that, is that we have asymptomatic people who do not want to quarantine at home and they go for work. And I think that's completely unpardonable and unacceptable. We saw one actress who just went out, to work after third day of asymptomatic COVID. That's completely unacceptable. These are the spreaders and super spreaders which need to be chained down. And I think the maximum all the four quadrants, whether it's masking, double masking, distancing, sanitization, and vaccination, all go hand in hand. And I certainly feel that this second surge is here to stay. And I don't think there is any looking back, at least as Mumbai, Maharashtra is concerned. Lockdown is not an answer. It's probably micro-containment and urgent public health strategy, and vaccination to go hand in hand.
No, so fair enough. But Dr. Joshi, you are saying that we are awaiting results when it comes to the Maharashtra samples on
Yes.
what has been found for genome sequencing, and perhaps therein would lie the answer on why we're seeing this massive spike right now and shattering our own records from last year this time around.
That is true. We have ramped up our testing, so you will see some form of a case demic because our RT-PCR thresholds are still at CT values of around 40. Ideally, 24 and below is the one which is infective. So we will see a large number. When you test more, you will see large numbers. Mumbai was testing only 4,000. Now they are testing almost 40,000. Maharashtra was testing only 30,000. Now they're testing 1,50,000. So that is okay. 80% asymptomatic. Recovery rate is 90%. Case fatality rate is down to 0.5%, at least in 2021. These are signs. So
Okay.
I don't think there is need to panic,
Yeah.
but we cannot be reckless. People at large need some cooperation. I think all of us are on one page here. Every panelist here is just requesting people with folded hands that Corona is very much around.
Sometimes
Corona is
we
very clear.
repeat these for sure repeatedly, we make these arguments and appeals to the viewers as well, and then I see visuals that come in from cricket stadium to Kumbh Mela to Laddumar holy celebrations and the massive political rallies from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Assam and Bengal. And I just then wonder what good are these few handful night curfews going to do in other parts of our country when, when it comes to these larger events, there's absolutely no intent of even rethinking our policy. Dr. Dalwai, you wanted to make a point?
I want to make a point with a request that do not take it politically, please. I want to make a point which is basic microbiology. If the virus can travel from across half the world to India, I don't understand why it prefers only to stay in Maharashtra, or why it prefers to stay in Kerala, or why it prefers now to stay only in Punjab. Whether it has anything to do with the political dispensation. I don't think viruses recognize any political ideology. In which case, if it can spread across countries, I don't understand how we are assuming it doesn't spread across the borders of our states, which are not only semi-pervious but totally porous and pervious. How is it that certain states have no rise in COVID at all? I am not criticizing or trying to frame the political leaders of that state. I am only trying to say that what Shashank Bhai said just now, that many cases are asymptomatic, but they do spread the infection. I am hoping that I wish there isn't a really sudden quick surge in states where we are thinking there is no COVID. For certain reasons, Maharashtra is always highlighted when there is something going wrong with it, which is okay. But as a Indian, I'm worried that we are probably ignoring other parts in which the same problem is going on.
Well,
Please
okay,
explain
fair
that.
enough. As far as the number of
Please,
COVID
certain
cases
states
are
have a
concerned, Maharashtra has always been on the top. Our testing, while in absolute numbers, is much, much higher than several other states, but as a proportion, still not enough. But so let's look at one thing, which for Punjab, for example, is concerning, which is the high mortality rate. And which is why, I mean, irrespective of whether or not so many people may be dying in Bihar or Maharashtra, for Punjab, it is a concern. If as many people are dying in Punjab as in Maharashtra, despite the huge disparity in population as well as COVID cases. So, some of the states will have to look at tougher norms and at a different kind of policy than certain other states. Dr. Arora, is there any explanation, and politics aside, what Sameer Dalwai is raising, is there an explanation why certain states see more of these cases than others?
Just one line, if you permit me. I'm only worried that we are not hiding something which then bursts into an explosion. That's all.
Okay.
So, what Dr. Dalvi and Shashank said, I would add one very important point, and Dr. Sunila also said that we should use the information of the recent outbreaks. And I was looking at the data day before yesterday. There are about 17 or 18 states during last 8 weeks or so. The rise in the number of cases is more than 250 times. and sometimes it is 500, 700 times. Now, these are focal outbreaks, it looks like, in these districts. And what Shashank is trying to repeatedly emphasize, I think epidemiologically, we should look at these districts rather than randomly picking up strains from all over the country. I think a bit more focusing is required in viral surveillance to look at variants in these 17, 18 places, and also look at the local ground epidemiology and the way people are behaving. It looks like that there, as I understand, in Amravati and in some of the other Maharashtra states, 15 to 20% of the strains might be variants. The data is still underway, and I think Shashank also knows about it. So these focal outbreaks may be because of the variants and homegrown variants. It is not necessary that every variant has come from outside, and we need to refine our strategy of viral surveillance. And I think during this discussion, it has come to me, and I'm going to follow it up. But we don't need to do it all over the country. That a small percentage, 5% is okay. But I think a focal epidemiological surveillance of virus is required to find out the variants and put our blanket there to do something specific, whether we are talking about mass immunization or doing other preventive steps, as we have been discussing.
Well, that's a very important point that both Dr. Shashank Joshi, raised, and you've now added to, and I hope that actually centrally the agencies realize that, and the states also get involved and together come up with an action plan. I'm told Dr. Talwar is also with us right now. Dr. Talwar, good evening. Can you hear me? I think he's on a phone call though. Dr. K.K. Talwar, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Sorry, can you hear me also?
Yes,
please?
Dr. Talwar, let's introduce you, Chairman for Cardiac Sciences at the PSRI Hospital in Delhi, and also the Advisor for Health and Medical Education to the Punjab government. Dr. Talwar, we're trying to understand and explain it to our viewers. How is it that in Punjab, in a test done with 400 samples, we found that over 80% were the UK variants? What could be the explanation to that, since we were under the impression that there was quite a bit of surveillance going on about people who are landing here from abroad?
Well, most likely, I think it has been through the travelers, but because we have been getting this number sort of surge going on the last some weeks, so we were concerned. I think we were concerned even from the last September also, because of high mortality. We thought to do some kind of viral sequencing. That's why we have been working on with some organization, so that to have this kind of a data available. And now last 2 months, whatever the data we got yesterday, it shows that 80% plus are UK variants. So obviously this must have been come through the travelers. And as we know that this virus, mutated virus, has a high transmission factors. I mean, it is supposed to be 50 to 70% more transmissible as compared to the wild original virus. So probably that may be one reason that I think the surge is happening. And it also involves the younger people. And that because they are not much symptomatic, but they become like a super spreader. And the school, colleges which were open, so that's why they have to be closed now. So I think this probably has come through from the migrants coming from travelers from UK. But I think that as the data show, that is 80% plus probably were positive in this 400 sample. Of course, another 400 samples are still in the labs, and we will come to know what are the observations from those. So that is the thing.
Dr. Talwar, how does the policy get impacted basis this finding? The policy of a government in terms of implementation and containing the spread. What would be your advice in changing that policy? Surely we have to go beyond limiting some gatherings or night curfews.
I think as you must have seen that in the last few weeks, that another observation that we had, 35 to 40% of our positive were below the age of 30. And that's why we said there are more in younger people. That's why colleges have been closed, schools have been closed, and restaurants, cinema halls have been cut down, so that to make sure that youngster people, they are the one who probably and of course more strict enforcement of the COVID habits, use of mask and other mask is the most important thing. I think I hope the public realizes it's a simple social vaccine and people should use it. But I think it's become, I mean, you can only try to convince people, counsel people. So these efforts are going on.
Dr. Arora, if you can come in here, is Punjab's high mortality rate, and our reporter Ayushman was pointing it out, Punjab reported 58 deaths in 24 hours, which is the same as Maharashtra, even though the case difference is 2,300 and 24,000. So, is the high mortality rate perhaps due to this variant?
No, I think as far as whatever we know...
Dr. Talwar, if I may just take that question across to Dr. N. K. Arora. Yes.
Sorry,
I think we should look at the people who have unfortunately lost their lives. There is a possibility these are people with very severe comorbidities.
Yes.
I think one of a kind of a data should not deter us or say that the mortality is high unless we go into depth. I would suggest in-depth analysis of the deaths and see whether they were having any specific problem. And that may give us some idea.
Okay, very quickly, I want to go across to Brinder Dhillon as well. Mr. Dhillon, your government is asking the center to open up vaccination for more. My research team is giving me data in terms of Punjab's vaccination pace, and it is far slower than several of the other states, including states like Jharkhand and Haryana.
See, yes. So what you are saying, obviously you have the data, and we also feel, and that's why we have stepped up. We are making a lot of efforts to, step up this. But similarly, we have to realize the ground situation. Why I am pointing it out, yes, there are a lot of issues which need to be sorted out. But yes, the more recently, the farm bills is a big issue in Punjab.
What is the point of asking, let's open vaccination for all, when you're not even able to match with the vaccination pace of the rest of the country?
So, see, you have to realize this thing. We are not, you might be saying that we are not able to match up, or we are not able to, like you pointed out, the mortality rate. That is more because of testing also, on all these reasons. So why I'm again and again bringing the farm issue to this debate, people out here in Punjab, the situation is absolutely different. You just have to look at the way the protests are happening, the way Mahapanchayats are being organized, and in spite of government ordering curfews, in spite of government being strict, there is a huge issue of farm bills out in Punjab. We cannot neglect that issue and just point out to one of these reasons, and especially the 9 districts. One thing I would like to add: the 9 districts which are the worst affected. That is the reason. There are a lot of districts in Punjab which have good, you can say, whether it's testing, whether it's vaccination, or whether it is,
but not the districts which are the epicenters of the farm protests. Okay, got your point. I am running short on time, but I must give a quick comment time to Dr. Talwar, and then Dr. Garg, I'm coming to you. Dr. Talwar first. Yes.
You see, I just wanted to say that as far as the CFR, you see, the Punjab has the issues of comorbid issues. There are so many, the prevalence of comorbid condition, diabetes, hypertension, chronic kidney disease, cirrhosis, chronic alcoholism, they're quite high, obesity. So these factors make, number 2, as the public, very difficult. The people don't come in the early phase. This condition has a peculiar thing of happy hypoxia. They say, I'm fine. And then within a few days, when they become very sick, then they run to the hospital. So these are some of the situations which is making us difficult. But I must also mention that if you look at the death per million, the Punjab is below many other states. So that also you should little appreciate. I mean, I agree that the CFR is high, but the death per million is even less than half than the Delhi.
Okay, Doctor, I'm completely out of time, but Dr. Garg, did you want to add to this argument as well about the comorbidities and the death rate?
Yeah, and then if you look at now in
Dr.
the second
Talwar, may I just take that to Sunila Garg, please? Yes.
Yeah, it is important to look at the data which came in the last half of 2020, where we found that 70% of the individuals were suffering from kidney disease, and the rest of them were, each one of the individual was having comorbidities. But it is now the time to revisit our epidemic, a disaster management act, so that the action can be taken, or suitable need-based action against the, when we talk about the farmers congregation and all that. So it is the time to revisit and imply these measures very, very strictly, so that we can control the pandemic. So that is where it is important to look at this situation in the holistic perspective. After all, we are losing precious lives.
Yes, and we must not forget that a high number of deaths in few states, a high number of cases in many, many states across the country. And keep this in mind, viewers, we are still carrying out a lot of study and analysis across the country on the kind of variants. There is a lot of unknown out there. The unknown factor when it comes to coronavirus from day one has been a big one, a big factor, and it continues to remain that. So unless and until we are able to get a handle on this and able to vaccinate a large percentage of our population, don't let your guard down. And don't let your guard down is actually a message not just for the people, but even for the local authorities, for the state governments and the center. A big thank you to all of the panelists who've joined us on this conversation.